Welcome to the Ryan Frank Podcast. Ryan is a family man, first and foremost, but he's also a pastor, publisher, and serial entrepreneur. This podcast will help you think, work, and create like never before.
Welcome to the Ryan Frank Podcast. This is Ryan Frank, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited to share today's podcast with you. I recently sat down with Brandon Rushin. Brandon is a pastor. He is an integral part of the Kids Matter Conference. You see him on the main stage every year. And he travels and ministers to churches for doing VBS camps, special events, school outreaches. He does all of these characters. He's great at communicating with kids and families. And he just has joy coming out of him. I mean, you can't be around Brandon without having your spirit lifted. And he just loves the Lord and loves to share joy with people. And so today, Brandon and I talked about how do you keep the joy in your job? How do you keep the J-O-Y in your J-O-B? You know what, whether you are a ministry leader or a marketplace leader, whether you stay at home, whatever your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday looks like, it can be difficult. You know, people aren't always easy. Expectations aren't always easy. Sometimes you can feel overwhelmed. You can feel under-resourced. You can feel undervalued or appreciated. You can feel like, I don't know if I have what it takes. You might feel like you're burning out or stressing out or wearing out. The good news is there is hope and help in Christ. And that's what we talk about today. How do you keep the joy in your job? And you know what, just about every minute of the conversation is practical. So you're going to want to be ready to take some notes on your phone or on a piece of paper. And I'm so thankful for Brandon and the time that he gave me in today's podcast. Hey, I hope to see you all at the Kids Matter Conference. This is the premier event for children's ministry leaders and their teams. Beth and I want to welcome all of you to Nashville, Tennessee, September 12th, 13th, and 14th. You can go to thekidsmatterconference.com to learn more. We have 6 great main stage sessions, over 200 specialized ministry breakouts, over 90 ministry partners ready to share with you the resources that they have and how they can partner with you in your church. We're going to be giving away free coffee this year. Someone is going to be winning a free car. Lucy's Gourmet Sodas are going to be there, and so much more. You can learn all about it at thekidsmatterconference.com. Friends, thanks again for tuning into the Ryan Frank Podcast. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Here is my conversation with Brandon Rushin. Hey, what's up, Brandon? Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I'm so excited to be with RFP. This is exciting, man.
Oh, RFP. Well, man, are you having a good summer?
Man, summer's good. And as my kids are, they're in college now. So yeah, their summer is a lot different than, the summers that you guys have and what I experienced. But I realized that summer now, it used to always be, I think when you and I were growing up, it was a summer. I felt like we had the long, now I feel like it's a sum. It's a lot quicker and you gotta be moving and grooving. So,
oh my gosh, it does. It goes quick, doesn't it?
Too fast. But it's good.
So you traveling and doing events and
yes, doing a lot of things in town and then doing things all over the U.S., which is very exciting. I'll be in Texas this weekend. Very pumped about that, and then I'll be hitting all parts of the country, this summer, which is good. But I usually spend more time on the road during the summer than I do at home. So I'm home right now, so that's a good thing.
Good for you. Nice. Well, today we are talking about keeping the J-O-Y in your J-O-B. And I'm excited to dig into this content. Whether you're a ministry leader or marketplace leader or, a stay-at-home mom, whatever your day-to-day looks like, I think you're going to find a lot of value in this conversation because, you know what, Brandon, we always are going to have to deal with difficult people. We're going to always have to deal with stress. There's going to be times where we just feel like we're alone and we're burning out. So I'm super, super excited to jump into this content. But first,
Brandon, I know you're a popular figure at the Kids Matter conference and in the I Love Kidmin Facebook community, but I don't want to assume everybody knows who you are. So introduce yourself, your family.
Excellent.
And then I would love for you to tell us just about your ministry journey.
Yes.
And what that even looks like today.
Well, thank you, Ryan. That is it's a blessing anytime I get to do any type of ministry with you. I just love your passion, your heart, and the way that you do everything with excellence. So anytime I get a call from Ryan Frank, I'm like, let's go. It is good. So everybody, I'm Brandon Rushin. I am 52 years old, live in the great state of Georgia, just north of Atlanta in Beaufort. If you've ever been to the Mall of Georgia, you've been real close to our house. I have a beautiful wife, Cindy, who we've now been married 23 years. And she's just a true light and blessing in my life, to come into life and to love on me and to partner in life with me. And we have two basically adults now. Mackenzie will be 21 years old in October, and then Maverick is 19, and they're both experienced in college. And so this past year, we were able to realize the reality of an empty nest. And I'm telling you, friends, if you got people still in your nest, God is good always, and he continues to give when the nest is empty. So hold on, because it is good. There's some joy there. So we've got we have a dog, Mistletoe. She is our little joy, a bundle of dogness who is good. And she was a Christmas dog, so that's why her name is Mistletoe, but Missy for short. And we're living life and doing well. And that's us. My ministry journey began with my parents. And I really believe in ministry. That's why we have to focus on families, because my parents were like, we're going to church. Brandon, you are going to get to know this man who loved you more than you could ever imagine. And so from a very early age, my mom was like, let's get up. We got to head downtown to True Light Baptist Church to go to church. Yep. And that right there, my parents started my ministry journey. And it has been a joy at 8 years old, accepting Jesus as my Lord and Savior and choosing to follow him, and all the way through the path of him taking me through some fun modeling, him taking me through acting, being active on staff at my home church, and even calling me off of staff. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but calling me off of staff to do what I do now. And that is basically bringing the good news through characters and through Brandon, to share his good news to all the world. And it has been a joy and a blessing, and it is my passion. And so, and getting to team in ministry with wonderful people like you, Ryan, and do Kids Matter Conference, and formerly MegaCon, now Kids Matter Conference, and getting to come into churches, VBSs, family events, city events. MCing is definitely a heart of mine, but speaking and just showing people that they're loved and that they should have joy. That is truly what he has called me into. And a lot of times people say to me, they go, Brandon, man, you always seem so joyous. You seem so happy. And I'm like, man, Jesus brought it. So he gave it for us all. So I want to give it out. So that's basically my ministry journey. But my passion is people, and meeting them wherever they are and shining light to them. And so much so that when I leave, they can go like, man, there was something different there. Yes. And they can realize that that's Jesus shining through this mess, but he can shine through us all.
I love it. And you just radiate with joy. And we're gonna jump into this conversation of finding joy in your work and keeping that joy. Brandon, do you think that it's a choice? I'm going to choose to have joy in my life, or is it something that with time it's just part of who you are and you don't have to think about it?
That's Ryan, that is a great question scenario, because I really believe that when you look up joy in the dictionary, or just wonder what joy is, it's a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. And as I tell people, I say, that's exactly what Jesus is. He brings happiness, he brings great pleasure, and he gives you that opportunity to embrace it. So I really do believe it is a choice. And we all really have to step in and say, you know what? I want to be joyous today. I want to receive joy today. I want to exude joy. And I think after you've made that choice, it becomes what can happen if you continue to do something. It becomes that habit, that gift, that skill. So you got to practice it, and the more you practice it, it comes into play. And then before you know it, look, you're exuding it. And like I like to tell people, you can be oozing it, because when you're oozing it, then people are going to get it. And even if they may not want it, they're going to get it if you're oozing it. It's going to get on them, and then they're going to be like, hey, man, I've got some of this joy, and I don't even know how. Oh, yep, there's where it came from. Yeah. So yeah, a choice that becomes practice, that becomes practical. And I choose to be joyous, because as we were, Cindy and I were raising our now adults, we told them a lot. We said, you have a choice to make. You can choose to find good, or you can choose to find the bad, because it's going to be there, but choose good. Because if you choose that good and you choose what Jesus has for you, man, he's going to open up so many doors. And they've chosen that, and they've seen that, and they can bear witness to that. So that's definitely the way that we choose to go. Let's go joyous, even in the days where it's not that great. Let's bring that joy, because that way, everyone that you meet, they're going to go like, I need to go that way as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I would say just with you, Brandon, that, I don't think it's either or, as far as like I either choose it or it's part of me. I think it really is both and. And, you're right. Every day you choose joy, and where it becomes a practice of your life. And it is one of the fruits of the Spirit as well, yes. Isn't it? When the Lord is working in your life, and the Holy Spirit is having his way, his will and his way in my life, I will practice joy. Yes. I think one of the greatest things that can rob our joy are the people around us. And it could be, it could be a grouchy boss, or a grouchy coworker, or, somebody in the office that just brings their problems with them to work, or is negative. I don't think, there are other sources that we'll dig into in our conversation, but do you agree that people can rob us of that joy? And if so, how do you effectively keep joy in your life when you're around negative people, or downers, or people that might just want to bring you down?
Yes. My grandmother, who is in heaven now, one thing she used to always say to me, she's like, Brandon, don't you ever let the devil steal your joy. And I take that for always. I'm like, I'm not going to let somebody come in and take that joy, take that joy, because we are meant to be joyous and to share that joyous. So with people, that's where it does get, yes, people are going to take it. And I really believe that people, sometimes they may not even mean to, but what they are doing is they're missing it. And maybe they see it in you, and they just don't know the way to come and be like, hey, Ryan, share that joy that you have with me, or tell me how you keep all that joy. Maybe instead they just come in and they're trying to knock you out. But what I always tell people is, I was like, don't let someone steal your joy. And what I constantly try to do is, if there's somebody and they seem to be that one coming in with the burdens and the bringing it down, man, I try to shine even brighter to them. I work even harder, because I really believe you never know the opportunities that you have, what difference you may make in somebody's life, because there may be somebody trying to cut you off driving down the road. Well, maybe they feel like they need to be in front of you, but you being kind and joyous and going like, go ahead, which is hard to do. But going like that, you may make their day. You may change the trajectory of their life just by an action that you do. So I really believe if there's somebody coming in, and maybe it's a boss, maybe it's an acquaintance, maybe it's somebody you've never met before, but they come in and try to steal your joy, the best reflection that we can be of him is to shine and be joyous and be bright and be kind. And when we turn that way, I really believe they could be changed, because they could be like, man, I came in and I was mean and I was doing everything negative that I could do, and all they did was shine joy. All they could do is be nice to me, and it changed me. Yeah. So I just try to reflect even more happiness in those cases. And sometimes it's tough when you get those people who seem to always come in. And what I also believe sometimes you have to do is have a kind conversation with them. And maybe through that conversation, they'll share with you what's going on in their life. And then that's another opportunity that you can say, hey, you know what? I understand that's happening. Let's walk this road together. I'm here with you. I want to make sure that you're feeling your best. So communicating as well, because sometimes somebody might not even know, like, somebody come and go, Brandon, you were a little hard on me today, and I really didn't appreciate the way you said this. And I can at least go, I apologize for that. Thank you for communicating that. I'm going to try to work harder. So communication, so that we get it all out in the open, and we cut away from what as humans we could do, gossip, because, maybe I do something bad to you, Ryan, and you go and say, hey, Brandon did something that was not nice to me. And then somebody else says this, and that's just not going to be a good way, as opposed to you coming to me, Ryan, and saying, hey, Brandon, this happened. Could we talk about it? So communication is another big key.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. I love what you said too about just being kind to those people, because I don't enjoy being around negative people, and
right.
I get it. I don't think most of us do, but the reality is, if we can be empathetic, we're all dealing with stuff, aren't we? And that negative person, probably has stuff going on in his or her life, and you can be, and I believe God wants you to be, a light to that person, and to be an encouragement to that person, and just to do good to that person, even if you may not feel like doing good to that person. And I think that'll help you keep that joy. You don't just want to get sucked into it.
Yes.
And let that person pull you down. Boy, that can be a huge mistake.
And, Ryan, just with you saying that as well, it just reminded me, I think everybody, and you pretty much put it out there, everybody knows that person, because I just thought of a person in our church congregation who constantly comes in that way. And through it happens that you can see when he comes into a spot, sometimes the energy changes. And one of the things that I've done with this gentleman is I try to shine that joy in him. And some days it's tough, because some days I see him coming and I want to run. But what has happened is it's like, oh no, turn to it, and let's try to help. And he shares more. And even we've had some conversations of what's going on in his life, and it is definitely helped. So I really believe as well, everybody think of somebody that maybe it's that one person in your life that you're like, ooh, they totally steal my joy. And then, man, pray to God that he can help you to talk with that person, to communicate a little bit more with that person, to show more joy to that person. Because this guy at our church, he definitely talks to me in a different light now. He used to talk to me in a very hard light. It's a lot better now, but there's still times where he comes and it's like, all right, Lord, you shine right here, because it can be tough. But hey, it can get better.
Yeah. We have a lot of you. Thank you for tuning into the podcast, whether you're watching today on YouTube or listening. Thank you. I know a lot of you that are watching or listening are ministry leaders.
Yes.
And, it's tough being a ministry leader. I heard several years ago, Brandon, you probably have heard the quote, Peter Drucker, way, back in the day, said that the 4 most difficult jobs in the United States, and I don't know that these are in what order he said them, but the 4 most difficult jobs in the United States are being the president of the United States, being the president of a university, being, he said, the CEO of a hospital, and being a pastor. He said were the 4 most difficult jobs: being the president of the United States, the president of a university, the CEO of a hospital, or a pastor. It's tough being in leadership, and it's tough for those of you that are ministry leaders being in ministry. You don't just clock in and clock out, and it really is difficult to leave your work in the office. You carry it with you, and so much of that, I think, is because you are caring for and carrying the spiritual burdens of people, and you're shepherding people. Brandon, you've been in ministry at a local church, serving on staff. I've done the same. There are seasons where, it's like, man, things are going great, sailing along. And then there are those seasons where it's just tough.
Yes.
What would you say to a pastor or ministry leader that's in one of those seasons where it's just really, really stressful right now? It just feels very, very demanding right now. Is it possible to keep your joy, and how?
Yes, it definitely is possible to keep your joy. And go back to the word joy. And I remember, and I'm sure Ryan and many of you ministers remember this, when you hear the word joy and you see it, the Joy being Jesus, others, and yourself. And I really feel like you have to keep that balance, because number one, you have to be filled. And with Jesus filling us up, then that allows you to go and pour out on others. But what we have to remember is we have to allow to be filled back up. And I believe that's where it comes into the you time. You have to take that you time. And I have learned that I love to vacate. I love to go. It's been a blessing now in ministry that I get to go many different places and I'm serving, but I also feel like that's an opportunity that I'm getting refilled. I really feel that everybody needs to learn how to take care of themselves as well. And so after you've filled up with Jesus, and that's big, especially in leadership, because I really believe in ministry, leaders forget to take time for themselves. And here's the first time part of even getting filled up. You've got to have somebody pouring into you, whether that be another pastor, friends, friend group, other leaders, other ministry podcasts, other ministry books, the Bible. You must make sure, get that Jesus to fill you up. And then when you're able to pour that out on the others, pour it out, share it in the good way that we can, but then don't forget to fill yourself back up. And I believe that maybe that might be one week that you just are able to get away. Maybe it's only a day within your minute. I don't know what your timelines may be, but you got to get away. And that's get outside of your norm. Maybe it's you just take a drive to the mountains and you sit in God's goodness. Maybe it's just you take a day off and you truly take a day off. Maybe it's you get to go vacate and you get that time away where you choose. But I really believe that you have to find that balance, because if you're only Jesus and others and forgetting about you, you're missing a part of the strand, that that trifecta. So you have to take care of you. And
good point.
I've seen friends who are doing great, man. They are so filled with Jesus and they're so taking care of others, but they don't take a break. And one of my good friends in Dallas, just about a couple of weeks ago when I was in Dallas doing some filming, he was talking about everything that he was doing, but he turned to me and said, "I'm tired." And I said, "You got to take a day." I said, "You have to take some time." And the coolest part is within that, he was like, "There's this orchestra coming to town and I really want to go see them." And he got online and booked himself a ticket, and he actually booked another ticket. So he's like, "And I know God's going to give me a name of somebody I'm going to take with me." I said, "Daniel, that's exactly what you got to do. Take some time and refresh," because he is so good, loves Jesus, filled with the Spirit, and is pouring it out with everybody else. But he wasn't taking time for himself. So I really believe if you start taking care of Jesus, others, don't forget about yourself.
Boy, that's so true. And so for so many ministry leaders, you're right. It's so easy to get stuck in that, others, because you are working with volunteers, working with those kids, working with staff, you're shepherding people. So you're serving. And boy, as well-intended as you are, you can forget about Jesus, keeping Jesus first. And you can definitely forget about yourself, taking care of yourself. So you've got Brandon, I found that if I don't own it and take care of myself and make sure Jesus first, nobody else is going to. I've got to take that responsibility and literally prioritize it and remind myself of this every day. Or else I'm just going to get sucked back into, priorities that are out of whack and not keeping the Lord first. When you do that, you're right. If you find yourself always going, serving, and not keeping Jesus first, and not taking care of yourself, you might find yourself burning out or feeling like I'm burning out. And I have to believe with as many of you as listen to this podcast, there might be one or two of you or more that you just really feel like, "Ryan, I'm tired right now. I'm burning out." I don't know how much more I have in me. Brandon, what kind of encouragement would you give someone like that?
Yes. When I was hearing you say that, I was thinking back that, sometimes people have sadness. Sometimes you get a little upset, you get frustrated, you feel mad, you feel there's no joy. I feel that's the biggest time that, number one, you need to stop, and you need to pray and say, hey, God, I need you right now. I need you right now. And then I believe right after that deep prayer, you may need to take a break. And I really believe that a break can be good. And that's once again where it might just be that you take that day, or you take that weekend, or you take a vacation. But sometimes a break can be the best thing that can be there. But also within that break, what I've noticed is that in ministry, being so much for the world and for all, it can be a lonely place, because you can't forget to connect and make those connections. So what I always encourage ministry leaders to do is to don't let yourself get on an island by yourself. Make sure that within your church that you are connecting with other leaders.
So true.
Other families, other friends, other groups, that you are staying connected. And then outside of your church, man, connect with other churches, ministry leaders who may be doing the same thing that you are doing, because you're going to find a lot of equal ground there. So connect with them as well and ask them, hey, how are you doing? And then reciprocate, let them ask you how you're doing, and be honest. Because I really believe is once we start communicating it and sharing it, we can realize I'm not alone.
Yeah.
There are others out there, and man, we can do this together, not alone, but together. Because I really believe when Jesus came, he said, I'm here to show you the way, but I'm not going to leave you just by yourself. I've got so many others who can do it together with you. So I really believe that side of making sure that you're making those connections. And then the other side that I really believe is you got to communicate it, because sometimes you're going to be feeling a certain way. I believe big in writing it down. I have I do a lot on paper. I do a lot on whiteboards, and I believe in writing things down, because you can get it out and you can see it and you can be like, hopefully then you have that friend group, those other associates who you can also share that with. And then my big thing that I always like to do, if it's on the dry erase board or if it's on paper, I'll do something fun with it. Like either on the dry erase board, I like to color a picture around it and look at the goodness of the picture, and then take it all away and say, hey, he's wiping it all away. On paper, sometimes I'll cut it up into a lot of pieces and then throw it up like confetti and say, hey, that party is done. It's gone. Let's move on. Sometimes I'll wrap it up in like a big ball, take a shot. I love sports. It's good. And then it's gone. So I really believe you got to get it out. You have to share it, say it. You got to put it down and then get rid of it. Because once you can get rid of it and let it go, then you can be all you're supposed to be. So those are a few keys that I like to try.
I love that, Brandon. And by the way, I see you as being an athletical kind of guy. Did you play sports when you were a kid or in high school?
I did. And everybody sees me because I'm 6'7". They're like, they see, everybody thinks, man, you must have played basketball. But my God-given sport that we were moving in a way that we thought I was going to be playing for the United States men's national team was soccer. And was very, very gifted. The rest of the sports came. I love basketball, love tennis, and play those really well, and can get out and work my way around other sports. But soccer is the given gift that he gave me. And people, a lot of times when I go out and I'm like, what sport do you think I would play? They'd be like, basketball. Yeah, you're baseball. But soccer was
surprises me. Are there a lot of, how tall are you? You got to be 7 foot or close.
6'7", but I wasn't always 6'7". I was 5'10" when I graduated high school back in 1989. And I tell people, God is always working, and you can always continue to grow. This is ministry.
Now hold on just a minute.
Yes, exactly.
How tall were you when you graduated high school?
5'10", and that's probably giving me just a little bit. I might have even been 5'9.5", but we'll call it 5'10" because we like everybody rounds up.
You kept growing in your early 20s.
Went away to college, would come back for little breaks, on the weekend to say hey to mom and dad. And I'd go even into my bathroom at the house, and I'd be like, Mom, did you lower the window or the mirror? Excuse me. Did you lower the mirror? She's like, no, Brandon, I didn't lower the mirror. Then I'd be like, Mom, I need to go to the mall because my pants aren't fitting. Well, after the end of the year, I had a doctor's, my appointment, and he was like, this is interesting. And he basically said, Brandon, wow, you're growing, another growth spurt. And I was like, is that usual? He's like, well, it happens, but not all the time. So I had a second growth spurt. Yes.
you've always been a strange one. And it's
exactly. And that's the coolest part. As I tell people, I was like, this is a creation that only the good man could create, because I'm all over the place.
I love it. That's neat. Now this is good, Brandon, on self-care and, taking care of yourself. What does that look like for you personally, Brandon? Like, what are some things that you do? If I looked at your calendar or I shadowed you on a given week of the month, what are some things that Brandon does just to take care of yourself, to make sure that, you're in the right mindset, and that spiritually and emotionally and physically?
Yes.
What are some practical things that looks like for you?
That is the essence of it. I really feel like, and the biggest thing that I try to do, and I'm always consistently trying to get better, is rest. And that's not only sleep at night, but that's finding the times to truly rest. Like before today that we even got on the podcast, Ryan, I was down here in the studio, and I took some time to pray. And then I just put on some good worship music. And as the worship music was just playing, it was just good. And I've grown up loving music. And I really feel like that's how I used to learn. Like I would learn a lesson or this and that, I would put it to music, and I would put a tape in a tape recorder in a player and push record, and I would bring it to song. And that's how I learned. I really believe music is just a way, and worship is a way that we can truly come before him, and we can learn who we truly are supposed to be. Yes. So I take that time to pray. I really love to find others who are doing what I also have a passion for. And I like to watch what they're doing. I like to listen to what they're doing. I like to see what they're doing, so that I can also go, okay, once again, you're not alone. There's others doing it. And what I believe, because people a lot of times will say for me, they'll be like, hey, I want to steal what I just saw from you. I'm like, it's not stealing, it's ministry. Take it, use it, and let's glorify. So I like to see things and use it for ministry, because everything that we're doing, we're not the first to do it.
Yeah.
He did it, and he laid it out for us, and we won't be the last to do it.
Well, you're right.
But if we can keep sharing it, man, how many can be touched? So that's the things that I really love to do. And I just take time to rest. Like we have a nice screened in little area on our main floor that is just outside. And I'll get out there and just sit some days and just listen to the birds, just feel the breeze blow through, and just, take a little time to rest and reflect. And I believe in that rest, you can slow down, because as you know, Ryan, and our schedules, I still think, Ryan, you got the schedule of all schedules. I feel like I do a lot, but then I look at you, Ryan, I'm like, wow, okay. And like my dad always says, there's always going to be somebody rocking, and you can continue to try to follow, which, Ryan, you give a great lead. But I try to take time to just listen. Because if you just keep going, you forget to take time to listen. Because I feel like when we rest and slow down, you can hear. And he may even just say in the sweetest calmness, saying like, well done, or you're doing it, or you can do it, or keep going, or hey, ask this person for something. But if we slow down and rest, we can truly hear from him. So rest is a big thing that I try to do. And like I said earlier, I like to vacate. If the opportunity comes, and now we're in a new season with no kids in the house, we get the opportunity to go. And when we go, man, that so much reviving, so much more filling up, so that then we can come back and we can pour out to others.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable. I love that. And I would encourage each of you that are watching or listening to the podcast today to, at some point, either, right now, hit pause, or once this thing wraps up, just write down, make a note on your phone, or write down on a Post-it note a few things that you can start prioritizing this week to really take care of yourself.
Yes.
And maybe it is just being quiet. I mean, it's difficult in this crazy, loud, distraction-filled world that we live in, where our phones are, notifying us of everything every 2 minutes.
Always.
Just to be quiet. But boy, you're right. It is often in those quiet times, or maybe you just need a break, and maybe you can't vacate for a week, but you can find a day or a half day and go to a state park, or, go to the city park and just walk around and take a notebook, put your earbuds in and listen to some worship music. whatever that looks like for you. I really just want to encourage all of you podcast listeners, if you're going to find joy and keep that joy in your life, you're going to have to, as Brandon said, and as we've been singing in kids' church since we were little kids, you got to keep Jesus first.
Yes.
Others second. And you do, although you're at the bottom, it's really, I'm taking care of myself.
Yes.
And I'm not forgetting to make my spiritual life a priority and make sure I'm getting the sleep that I need, and that I'm eating right, and that I'm exercising. Brandon, I don't know about you. We've never really talked a whole lot about our diets and stuff. I know for me, like even practically, when I drink water like I should every day, same here. When I drink my water, I feel so much better. When I actually eat a little something healthy in the morning, even though I don't enjoy eating breakfast, if I make myself eat that bowl of oatmeal and put some blueberries in it, some protein powder, I feel a lot better. If I get a good night's sleep, I feel a lot better. So there is that practical side. Would you agree?
Oh, I totally agree. And it's so cool, that he is the living water. He is the bread of life. It's not by coincidence that he called all these things into play. And if we can, like you said, Ryan, take that time and even write things down, those little steps. And what I even encourage, because when you showed your phone, that's another thing. Like I put my phone on do not disturb. That's Mackenzie and Maverick when they were little, but they're big now. But I put my phone on do not disturb a couple hours ago, getting ready for this. And it's crazy when your phone's not dinging, pinging, making noise, but you have just time to just be. And with what you just said in that challenge, I would encourage people to maybe start out little. Maybe it's just for the first day, you say, look, I'm going to give 2 minutes. I'm going to put my phone on do not disturb. And for 2 minutes, I'm not going to do anything else but take care of me. And see how you can increase it. Maybe by the end of the week, you've got 5-10 minutes. Maybe you've got an hour or more. But taking that time to truly get back to you is good. And you're going to feel changed. And like you said about the diet, Ryan, man, I loved what you even said. I think that was the cool part. You get your oatmeal.
Yeah.
And then what you did, you took it to the next level. Because I think that's what we always have to be inspired to do. You put some blueberries on it.
Yeah.
And let me put a little protein powder in it. Yeah. And what difference that's going to do to elevate you through the rest of your day. Drink a little extra water, more. Maybe, you only like a cup a day. Maybe tomorrow you can do a cup and a half or 2.
Hey, there you go.
To keep taking it up a little level, step by step. That's how our journey should be. Taking another step.
100%. And Brandon, on your phone, I hate it as much as any of you do, putting your phone in the other room and walking away. Now, maybe for some of you it's easier than others, but I think most of us, if we're honest, we like having our phone close by. But Brandon, if you just turn your phone off for a couple hours, or put it in the other room on do not disturb, everything's going to be okay. If there really is a life and death emergency, somebody will figure out how to get a hold of you, even if your phone is not within an arm's reach for a couple of hours.
Ryan, you're about to start a revival, because that is so true. It is so true. If we could take just a little bit of time and go like, oh wow, everything is okay. It could change your day.
It really could. It could. Now it's easier said than done, but it's something that we each need to work on. Brandon, as we start to wrap up, what are some warning signs that we should watch out for? I mean, if I'm a pastor, a ministry leader, or let's say even someone that's not vocationally in the ministry, are there some warning signs that indicate that maybe things are out of whack, you're burning out, you're losing your joy, and you need to center back up and pull it together? What are some warning signs that we should watch out for?
I think one of the first warning signs is not being able to take constructive criticism or advice or a comment that somebody comes and says, Brandon, your message was good, but you went a little bit long. And then you come back and go like, well, I was supposed to take 20 minutes and I took 20, you coming back as opposed to saying like, Well, thank you for sharing that. What did you find good in the message, and allowing them to share that? Well, thank you. What can I improve on? One of the things that we do in ministry when we go out and after we have been somewhere and have shared the good news and the characters have come, we send a form back to wherever we were, and we ask, was it everything that you were looking for? What are some things that we can do to help? Any comments, concerns, questions that you have for us? Because I believe that all feedback is good, because it's going to help us. Because we all get in a zone where we're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And sometimes we forget that outside of that zone, they may have a different perspective. And how good is that? So I really believe if you can start, if you're having an issue with some criticism or some comments that are coming back, that's one big sign. Another.
Brandon, let me say something on this.
Oh, definitely.
Because you're right. This is a huge one. And, when I was younger in ministry, and I think we can all still deal with it, but I think I've gotten a little wiser over the years. But early on, it took me a while to learn that if someone is being critical or asking questions, it doesn't mean that they are personally attacking me.
Yes.
My pastor used to ask questions when I was young, and I would sit in staff meeting and immediately build walls of defense. Like he was attacking me as a person. And what I've learned, years later, looking back, is he wasn't attacking me. He just wanted to understand what was going on.
Yes.
It wasn't a personal thing with me. If you can learn to, someone told me a long time ago, Brandon, that feedback is a breakfast of champions. And if you can learn to accept feedback and criticism and not take it personally, but genuinely use that to make you better and your ministry better, boy, you're going to be, so much better off and so much farther down the road. But, you're right. If you get defensive and you get angry, that's a sign that something's out of whack. I 100% with you on that.
Yes. And that, Ryan, you just led right into the next. And I feel that if you feel the next is if you're feeling angry or mad more of the time than you're not, you may need to look at something in it, because it may be like, you're like, well, I can't believe somebody did this, or I can't believe I got to go do this. Or if you're coming into that stage of where you're feeling angry or mad all the time, it may be a time to look at yourself, take a break, because we should be, yes, there are going to be times where things are going to feel like it's coming on us, but we should be, this is good. What we have the opportunity to do, what a blessing we have. So if you're feeling angry or mad, that's the opposite of where we should be. The other that I would also share is if you're not feeling motivated, and that's motivated to try new things, motivated to sit down with groups and plan. If you're not feeling like, oh, let's do this. If you're just like, oh no, we're just going to keep doing what we always do, and you're not trying to look for other opportunities in ministry, those would be the big three that I'd say. Because motivation should keep you trying to do more than you believed that you ever could do, and letting him do more through you.
Amen. Friends, it is possible to keep joy in your job and in your day-to-day life. And I hope that this conversation with Brandon has encouraged you and inspired you. And I hope that you are. I know I have. I've been jotting down notes as Brandon's been talking. God has put his finger on some things in my life that I want to grow and change in. And I hope that he has done that for you. Brandon, before we go, I always like to end the podcast with these two questions.
Yes.
Number one, what's your favorite Bible story, and what makes it your favorite Bible story?
Well, right now, and I really believe that God gives words to me at different times and different seasons. And the word that he's been giving me is encounter. And I really believe that when Saul encountered the Lord on the road to Damascus, his life was forever changed. And I really believe that encounter is what I know you, Ryan, I know Beth, I know myself and other ministry leaders. That's what we want for everybody, to have that encounter with Jesus, to where they're like, wow, you see the light, you hear his voice, you say, I'm going to follow you. And so encountering, and Saul encountering him and his life being changed forever, that's right now the heart of what's happening, because he's calling big. He's saying, Brandon, let's let him encounter me, and have that encounter that where the rest of these days they're going to go like, I remember this day when he spoke to me and I answered the call.
What a fascinating, I love that story too. And I love that word. You're right. And what a fascinating study that would be. I was thinking as you were talking, if you just kind of went through the characters of the Bible, the stories of the Bible, and look at encounters that took place where
I'm gonna take some notes.
I know, right?
Let's go, Ryan's giving more goodness.
All of the encounters, and then how God wants to use us as a channel where people can encounter him, is truly an amazing and humbling thing. Boy, and Saul's life was forever changed, wasn't it?
Exactly. And look at all the good that he did. Then Saul to Paul, I'm changing who I am. I'm going to change my name. You're going to see I'm a different man. Going from imprisoning all the Christians to let's go tell the good news to everybody. And he had power. So now it's like, wow, look at what he's doing. If he can change his life, I can change my life.
Exactly. All right. And then Brandon, second, let's wrap up with this question. What's something big that Brandon's working on right now?
Well, this is the year, I really believe it's the year of threes, Ryan. And I'm so excited. And it's the Holy Trinity. This will be the third year that I, friends, get to partner in ministry with Kids Matter and with Ryan and Beth. And MegaCon is now Kids Matter Conference, and I get to come alongside with you and MC again for the third year. And I am so excited about getting to share and also just get to be speaking. We're going to be doing some fun opportunities of saying, don't you miss out on this, that's getting ready to come. But that Kids Matter Conference is coming up, and that you are allowing me to partner in ministry with you. That is number one. So excited. And I'm so excited because a new venue, new opportunities, more people to be able to come and hear the good and to realize that kids matter and that they matter. Amen. And so I'm so pumped for that. And then it's also year three of a good opportunity to have with First Dallas. And we do what's called iCampus. And I get to partner along with a good ministry friend of mine, Yancey. She does the worship. I come in with characters. And we basically do an on-demand Sunday morning. And so, you can pick it up under iCampus, and it's great. They have an adult version, and then they have their children's version. And Yancey and myself, and then some other leaders get to share the message. The children's staff, they do an intro and an outro, but it's amazing. So it's the third year doing that. So that's amazing. Yes. And then the third is that people are calling us already for 2024. And I know you can kind of be like, what? Really? But it's so cool. And it is, once again, it is showing that God is saying, all right, there's still work to be done. I still want you to continue to be passionate and to be out there sharing the word. So those are the three big things: Kids Matter Conference, iCampus, and 2024, the word is coming.
God is so good. And
yes, he is.
We can't wait to have you with us at the Kids Matter Conference. And all of you leaders out there, especially church leaders, you need to be familiar with Brandon and his ministry. Brandon travels. He does events in local churches, in schools, VBSs, camps, special weekends, special events.
Yes.
Brandon, the website is at brandonrushin.com.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. We just try to keep it simple.
Yeah. That's simple enough. brandonrushin.com. He has all kinds of great characters. If you've been to the Kids Matter Conference, you've seen them. I know a lot of you have had Brandon to a church, to your church, or to an event. But the next time you're looking to bring in somebody, I highly, highly recommend and endorse Brandon Rushin.
Thank you, Ryan.
Brandon, you can give me $20 later. Next time you
see me. Checks in the mail, man. I'll give you whatever you need.
In all seriousness, we love Brandon and feel kindred spirit. with him and his family. And I highly recommend him to your church. So go check out BrandonRushin.com. Brandon, thanks for your time today. This has been a fascinating and encouraging conversation. We sure appreciate everything that you do and your message. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you, Ryan.
This episode of the Ryan Frank Podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more conversations to help you stay on the leading edge. And if you like what you've heard, please rate this podcast with 5 stars. Thanks so much, and we will talk to you next time.